have you ever heard of Colonial Penn, MetLife, Mutual Omaha, any of those companies? And then what they say is, yeah, oh yeah, same thing as the Globe and the AARP. I said, perfect. I said, well, you probably, if you can recall the commercial, like let's say Colonial Penn commercial, the commercial goes something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. They say, you know, they don't ask any health questions. The price never goes up. The coverage never goes down. And you can't be canceled because of health or age. And as long as you got a pulse, you can get coverage, right? And I said, yeah, that sounds about right. I said, that's perfect. And in fact, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, everything about that is exactly the truth. However, there's one little piece of fine print that they do not tell you. And I want you to think about the fact that they don't ask you health questions. So let me show you here on this brochure, and then I show them where it says it's a 2-year wait for natural death. It's full coverage for accident. I said, well, Mrs. Jones, what this is essentially saying is you don't get anything except your premiums plus a little interest back if you die within the first 2 years. So what happens is, if you pay into this thing 23 months, and you die the day before the 24th payment and make your policy effective for 2 years, your family ain't getting nothing except what you paid. You may get a couple $100, but that's not enough to bury you, right? Because you need more like $10,000. I'm like, hell no, I can't do that. And so I said, here's the problem with that. The bottom line is, again, just like the term, we don't know when we're going to die. Could be early, could be late. We don't know if you're going to make it past 2 years. You know, knock on wood here, Mrs. Jones. I don't think you're going to go. But I've been in this business long enough to realize that people die suddenly. Let me tell you a story. Here we go into a story. I said, I always give them the Georgia man story here. It's a pretty good story, and all of this is true. And I said, Mrs. Jones, I about a year and a half ago, I sold a $25,000 policy to a gentleman named James in Georgia. He was a referral from my dad, and he had just turned 85, and the best of health. The guy just got remarried. He was going to move out to Arizona. Just a wonderful man. I really enjoyed being with him, not just for the sale, but because I liked the guy. And so he wanted to leave money behind his kids. So we wrote him up the deal. And 6 months later, right around Thanksgiving, right around this time of year, Mrs. Jones, he died. Suddenly. By a heart attack, it seems. And that was it. He only paid in 6 months. And had he had purchased off of television, if he had gotten Colonial Penn, MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, all these 2-year waiting period products, he wouldn't have been covered. His family would have just got the money he paid in. But my company paid the full death benefit. They paid the whole thing. His family was protected because he got a plan that asked them questions, that got him better coverage at a better price. Because what you want, Mrs. Jones, is the plan that asks you health questions, because that's going to give you the best deal overall, especially if your health is good enough, which it is. And so the bottom line is we want to give you the best deal. And you don't want to put your family out the pasture by making the wrong decision. So I've explained, I've explained term. Now I just explained the guaranteed issue. That's where the rates, that's where there's no coverage for 2 years. Let me explain to you, Mrs. Jones, exactly what I do. I do what's called final expense whole life insurance. The way it works is very, very simple. There's 3 main things that you need to know about it and how it's effective and why I think it might be a good decision for you to take. First of all, the rates never go up. So the quote I'm going to quote you here in a second, that price is locked in place the rest of your life. It can never go up for any reason, period. It's locked and set in stone. Secondly, your coverage never cancels due to age or health. That means, unlike the term insurance, you can live past 80. And it doesn't matter what your health becomes. It's the same as you took it out as it will be when you're 80, 90, 100, and however old you get. And then lastly, this is what you're telling me earlier on, you wanted coverage from the beginning. My coverage covers you 100% from the first day. So as soon as you take that out, you're 100% covered after the first payment. So anything happens to you, just like James did in the explanation I told you then, as long as you're telling everything the truth, as long as everything works out, you're fully covered 100% from the first day. And you've got the peace of mind you're looking for, so you never have to worry, is this death claim going to be paid? Am I going to be fully covered? I've got a plan in place that's going to do the job. So, bottom line, here's my question to you, Mrs. Jones. My question to you is this. Out of the 3 options we've looked at, the term insurance, which goes up in price, which cancels at 80, the guaranteed issue that does not cover you for 2 years, or my plan, where you're covered from the first day, your rates never go up and never cancel because of age or health. Out of those 3 plans, which one works best for you? Then I shut up, because at that point, that's a trial close. So a trial close is a way to test the waters to see how interested the prospect is, make sure that they're completely on board. It can be it can be little things like getting their validation and approval, but this is important because this is a conceptual close. So what we're doing here is making sure they're sold on the concept of what it is that I do as being a better choice. So what they usually say is, well, duh, yours is the best. It's a dumb question, but we ask it so that we can get them verbally to tell us why. And the last part I like, because I call it letting the client hang themselves. So, Mr. Jones, what is it about this plan that you like better than the others? And they're like, well, I like the fact that I'm covered 100%. The rates you told me were pretty good earlier. I like the fact I don't have a price increase. I don't want a price increase. So they're saying all this stuff verbally, right? And so they're hearing themselves basically tell me why they want it. They're like selling themselves on why they should get it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just cultivating it. I'm letting it come out. And so whatever they tell me is fine. Whatever the reasons are, again, I keep a mental note of that, because when I go for the actual sale and then present, as we'll talk about in the next week's video, I'll use that as a final close. But the point here is that I say, look, that's great. And I can tell you this, Mrs. Jones, everybody else that we spoke to, how you doing today, CJ? Everybody else that we've spoken to that sits down and listens to this says the same exact thing. They love the first day coverage. They do not want to lose it. And they like the fact they don't have a price increase either. And so that is the entirety of the actual educational type of script. You can tell I'm not really trying to hard pressure anybody. It's a very laid back script. Now, I get excited about it because I'm explaining real life circumstances where I've had clients that have suffered by not having the kind of coverage they needed to when they needed it. And I've connected with them, and I know what I do is a lot better than the junk that we have out there. And that's what's great about the business we're in, is that most of our competition stuff is crap. And so it's easy to sell against. But we can make sure and remind them, too, that, the bottom line is that, when we phrase it like this is a way more powerful, more effective way to pitch, because most of these agents that are going to be out there, I promise you guys, agents are lazy as hell. All right? They don't want to drive. They don't want to work too hard. And they really don't want to work at actually trying to build value and taking the time to explain. And I promise you, even with what I've just explained, the cool thing is I'm usually out the door in 40 to 50 minutes, even on a couple. Okay, so this isn't asking a lot of time, but I promise you, you're going to differentiate yourself. You can position yourself as an authority, and more people are going to buy from you that are qualified buyers because they like the fact you know what you're talking about.